Hey guys, I'm so glad you decided to join today to check out this video. I know it's been a little while since I've uploaded, but today we're gonna be taking a look at an awesome shoe that I'm super excited to show you guys. So stick around and check out this video. Here we go. What is up, everyone? My name is Matt Thrift. I'm back with you with another sneaker review. This is one that I'm personally off the charts stoked for. This is a shoe that's been out for a little while, so there's a decent chance that this video isn't going to do super great because you guys have already watched five other videos about this shoe if you're interested in it. But I hope that it does well, because the reality is this shoe deserves more attention than I think it's gotten. And that is the Air Force One Raygun. I think this shoe is one of my favorite shoes to release in the past year. I know that might be a somewhat controversial statement, but we're gonna get into why I think this shoe is so great. I was easily able to pick these up. I actually traded these for a pair of shoes I had just the other day. I found someone on Facebook Marketplace, of all places, here in the town I live in, who was looking to get rid of some. I had a pair of shoes I was willing to trade for it, and here we are. So I got these dead stock. I've worn them now about 2 or 3 times. I haven't actually cleaned them up yet before this video, so you can kind of see what it looks like after a couple wears without even being touched. I haven't put any shoe guards in here to stop creasing. I probably won't, because let's be honest, who's got time for that? I'm sure some of you do. I just don't at the moment. So with that being said, to jump into this shoe, it is, on a spec standpoint, basically a regular Air Force One. So if you've ever owned a pair of white on whites, you've ever owned a pair of black Air Force Ones, if you have, little sketchy, but that's cool. Whatever the shoe is that you've had, if you've owned a pair of Air Force Ones, this is very, very, very similar to that. Now, with that being said, there are a couple subtle differences, I believe, and then there's also the pretty obvious colorway differences that we'll get into as well. So the first kind of subtle difference, and I'm not sure, I haven't heard anyone else talk about this, but it has absolutely been true with my pair, is the fact that this shoe is a bit heavier than a regular Air Force One. Now, I can say I typically buy the Air Force One white on whites 07s, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe this is just a slightly different model, because it is, I don't have the box anymore. Otherwise, I would be able to tell you exactly what the model number was on it. But with that being said, possibly that's the difference in the weight, but the sole on this shoe is just a tad heavier than my white on whites typically are. It's not a massive noticeable difference, but it is enough that as I hold them in hand, you can notice that they're a bit heavier. It almost feels like the air pocket in the shoe itself is more solid. There's actually less air in it than a regular Air Force One, and you can call me out on that if you know better. Maybe you've got some more information on that. I don't know why that is, but I do feel like these are a tad bit heavier than a regular Air Force One. So continuing on with the materials, I think the material is approximately the same. All of this white leather is basically the same that you're gonna get with a regular pair of Air Force Ones. I think there's a possibility that it feels a bit more premium here in the toe box area, but overall this shoe is essentially the same as a regular pair of Air Force Ones. So to get into some of the differences when it comes to this particular colorway, some of the differences on this shoe, of course, the obvious being that the swoosh has got, it's black first off, and then it's got this kind of exaggerated stitching. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better there. Let's get that a little bit more in focus. Not really much better, but you can see we've got kind of this exaggerated over-the-top stitching going on this shoe, and it's kind of bordered by that yellow stitching that goes back to where we've got our Nike Air stitched into the back foot. And I think that's a great feature, because I don't know about you guys, but Nike's been putting out a decent amount of shoes recently that kind of have the Nike Air logo back here, and it's almost like a sticker. It's kind of a vinyl cling type situation back there, and I have found that over time, with lots of wearing and lots of use, actually starts to come off. So I thoroughly appreciate that it's stitched into the back here. This entire back end is just it's kind of a different, I'm not 100% sure how to refer to it, but it's like a nylon fabric material going on the back half or back third of this shoe. And so you've of course got the orange, you've got the black and yellow, and then one of my favorite notes on this shoe is this green and yellow basketball. It almost looks like one of those like charms that people put on their Crocs, and maybe that's a selling point to you, maybe that's not, but I personally think it's fun. It kind of shows a little more personality to this shoe. It's on both the right and left shoe. Both shoes have it. And so continuing on with this, the tongue is probably the most noticeable difference, because on a regular Air Force One, the tongue is not this mesh material. And on this one, it is. You can see kind of just regular white, almost basketball jersey mesh, which we'll get to why that is. And then we've got the orange Nike Air Force One branding on the tag here that I always will love. Air Force Ones are my favorite shoe. It's kind of a toss-up for me between the Air Force One and an Air Max 90. I understand they're vastly different shoes, but they're both some of my favorites. But this shoe, I think, is a beautiful shoe. I thoroughly enjoy it. And to give you a little bit of background on the history of why this shoe is so special and why this shoe is a shoe that I thought was gonna be more hype than it's turned out to be. And personally, that's perfectly fine with me, because it means I can catch them for a trade for essentially retail versus having to pay some crazy markup fees that I expected having to try to pay and not being able to get these sneakers. The reason for that is because back years ago, Nike actually released the Nike Dunks, which I'm sure if you're watching my channel, you've probably heard of the Nike Dunk, whether it's an SB or a regular dunk, doesn't particularly matter. At the end of the day, they have been going crazy recently with all sorts of hype collabs and all sorts of stuff. But back in the day, Nike released the Raygun Dunks. And the reason for that is kind of this weird Nike history fictional basketball team that they made up called the Roswell Rayguns, kind of playing off that idea of aliens in Roswell, New Mexico, and kind of going with that. And so those shoes sold pretty dang well, and their colorway was quite different from this, but this pays homage to that moment in Nike history, that moment in sneaker history. And so as you can look on the inside in here, we've actually got the Rayguns branded typeface in here. And then on the other shoe, we've got a little sticker still in there, but we've got Nike Air on the inside in there. The bottoms of the shoes are pretty much exactly what you would expect from a regular Air Force One. The sole is actually black with the white midsole, which is about as classic a shoe design as you can possibly have, especially for Nike. Same on this one as well. And then of course it comes with the black laces, and my personal absolute favorite touch of this shoe, although it's such a small detail, is the orange Nike swoosh that you've got going on right here, right past the toe box. I think this is just such a fun detail. Frankly, I probably would have bought this shoe if it was white on white with just an orange swoosh or a green swoosh. I don't know why, but I thoroughly enjoy that note, just to kind of throw something different out there. So to kind of give this shoe a rating, the comfort is exactly the same as a regular Air Force One. I don't notice any difference. The only potential difference that I guess could exist is the fact that the tongue actually has a minimal amount more breathability, because it is made out of that basketball jersey material, again to pay homage to the idea of this being a fictional basketball team, making it look like a basketball jersey. But it does add a small amount of breathability to your foot, so if you live somewhere incredibly hot like I do, it's 106 degrees outside right this very moment. If that's the case for you, maybe it's a little bit cooler than your regular Air Force One on the temperature of your foot. But at the end of the day, it is essentially the same thing as a regular GR release Air Force One. The only real difference, of course, is this colorway. For some of you, I understand that color might be off-putting. For some of you, if you're like me, you like something that just pops a little bit. I like to wear a lot of just plain white and black t-shirts and kind of lay low on that sort of thing. So I like my sneakers to be able to make the statement for my outfit, and these shoes do that without being too over the top. You don't have to walk around in some crazy hype collab. This isn't an unattainable shoe. These are retailing for about $100. I believe there's still a couple places you can find them online for retail, and if not, you can go to StockX and they're selling between $90 and $120 on StockX, of course. you've got to pay your stupid StockX fees. But oh well, at the end of the day, these shoes are not the most expensive. They are a relatively obtainable shoe, and I think this is a shoe that if you were to get it and you weren't interested in wearing it, you were interested in holding it and collecting it for the sneaker history value, I suspect this shoe is going to blow up in value in the next couple years. It just might take a little while of holding it. But if you're like me, you just want to rock some sick new shoes, this is a great pickup. I highly advise it. I know it's been out for a little while. I know I'm a little behind on making this video. It's been out for like a year now, but at the end of the day, this is a great shoe that I would highly encourage you to go pick up. So as always, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Like I've said before, this is a relatively new channel, but you guys have shown so much love and support over the past couple months of me running this channel. Even with me being kind of sporadic in my uploads of content, I'm trying to get better at shooting multiple videos at once and being able to give you more content at one particular point in time. But with that being said, thank you so much for your support of this channel. Please like this video if it's been helpful or informative to you, or you just enjoyed the vibes and hanging out here. I appreciate it so much. And once again, if this was helpful to you, please hit that subscribe button. This channel, when I started it, I expected we were gonna have like 3 to 5 people who were interested in what my take on sneakers was. And frankly, I still don't understand why anyone cares. But at the end of the day, it has grown much bigger than I anticipated, with thousands upon thousands more views and hundreds more subscribers than I ever would have imagined finding. So if that is of any interest to you and you want to continue to see some sneakers that maybe aren't the most hype, but they're more accessible to you, please give us a follow. I appreciate it so much. You guys have a wonderful day. Peace out. Bye.